Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Training and Tangents podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be digging into what makes Tom who he is as a coach. So we're going to learn a lot more about Tom's background, both from coaching and just your general perspective on health and fitness, which I am very much looking forward to. Are you excited for this? Nervous?
I'm a little bit nervous actually, yeah.
Good thing is, Tom, you're a bit of an expert on this because it's all about you. So let's kick off the first
Let's hope
question,
so.
shall we? Yeah, I think you'd be all right. I think you'd be all right. So, if someone knew you just as a coach today, like if someone just clicked on your profile today and was trying to learn as much as they could about you, what parts of the story you think might they be missing? So let's fill in the gaps a little bit about what makes you you as a coach.
Okay. So I guess if someone was to just know me right now, they'd probably know me um as I guess I post and talk a lot about being a dad and having boys and that sort of things, which obviously is a massive part of my life right now. I think I guess there's been a lot of experiences over my time, like from when I first started training to, and then also started coaching, that have shaped how I go about doing things and my overall philosophy. So, um, I think I first started training when I was like 14. And to start off with, as with everyone at that age, pretty much, I was just trying to build a little bit of muscle mass, look a little bit better, and also paired that with trying to get better at rugby. But I was basically just going into the gym and uh, going on every machine and pushing as hard as I could for the whole time I was there, doing absolutely everything I could, and then just trying to do that multiple times a week. So there was like no structure at all. But yeah, initially it was trying to build some muscle mass and also get I was playing rugby at the time, get better at rugby, and then as I went through sort of the next couple of years, that obviously sort of progressed. I learned a little bit more about how to train, although I still made a lot of mistakes myself when it came to training. But I guess one of the biggest kind of turning points for me was when I went to university. I started playing rugby league, which for anyone who knows is an absolutely savage game.
Yes.
um, and like again, I carried within that environment. I was at Loughborough Uni. We had like S&C coaches. We had a lot of people kind of helping us to sort of develop. So I learned quite a lot more about training through that point. But I also suffered with some of my first major injuries, and injuries has been something that has shaped my journey from a training perspective and a coaching perspective quite a lot. So in my second year, I think it was, I got labral tears in both my shoulders, which basically is the shoulder joints. Obviously, have a lot of range of motion, which kind of means that there's not as much stability as something like a hip joint, for example, because you want and need to be able to move it through a lot of range. So basically, the shoulder joint, um, if you think about it, it's like the labrum is almost like a golf tee, and then the ball of the shoulder kind of sits on top of that golf tee, and the labrum just is the little ring of cartilage around it that stops it from falling out of the socket, basically. So I had, just from repeated tackles, basically like my arm would come across my body and then like it would put pressure on the back of the socket. So I had 180-degree tears down the back of both shoulders. So basically, anytime I like, if I was kind of carrying the ball or or anything like that, if my shoulder kind of got pushed back into the back of the socket, it would kind of like there'd be like a little bit more of a tear. So this thing didn't happen like in one go. It was kind of progressively over time. Like I'd I'd play a game and then I'd kind of get a stinger on one shoulder, and I'd obviously sort of done a little bit more damage to that labrum. And then the same thing would happen in the next game, but on the other shoulder. And they were both kind of progressively just getting worse and worse. And I would really notice it if I was going into like bench press, for example, because obviously you've got like a lot of pressure on the posterior shoulders. Like it just, like, doing stuff like that just hurt all of the time. And you can manage label tears conservatively, but it takes a long time. And at the time, I was eager to get back to playing as soon as possible. So I actually had operations on both my shoulders 3 weeks apart. So basically, when I had my left shoulder done, and then 3 weeks later, that was then my good shoulder when I had my right done.
Oh my word. We're that age where it's like we have a good shoulder and bad shoulder. Now you're like,
Yeah, I
pick
don't
which
know.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
They're both normal.
um, yeah. Um, so that was like coming back from that to get to playing again was a big learning experience, both from training, but also like that kind of mental element of sort of
Mhm.
managing an injury and managing your own expectations. And um, I guess getting like just initially kind of focusing on what was in my power to control. And at this point, I was what 20, 21. So like my main focus was just getting like I just wanted to get back playing.
Get
I was
back.
like
Yeah.
just let like it was really hard when I had the operations done because I was just it almost made me sad going and being involved in the club because I kind of realized more what I was missing. So that like the mental side of things when you're sort of removed from doing the stuff that you love doing because of an injury, it's like that's where I kind of first got that appreciation of how hard that can be. And
Mhm.
then came back to like started playing again. Shoulders were all good, and then I think it was I played for Wales students in my final year of uni, and then I started playing some semi-pro rugby off the back of that. And the last game of the season, I basically I went into like I was carrying the ball, got tackled, and I kind of spun and like rotated, and as I did, my left knee, like my left foot, kind of got planted, so it hyperextended my left knee, and I tore my hamstring tendons and LCL ligament, which is the ligament down the outside of the leg, off my left knee. Um, so yeah, that was pretty devastating. And that actually, I
Understandably.
think, what like I would class as kind of my worst injury because I think it's more common people hear about like you tearing your Achilles tendon. It sounded like a kind of a shotgun, but basically, I've got a scar that's probably like 10 centimeters up the back of my left leg where basically the hamstring attaches or where it's meant to attach and where it kind of gone to because they couldn't do keyhole for that. They had to do open surgery. So they like cut like 10 centimeter gash up my leg to grab that tendon to pull it back to put it back on. So like the
Oh,
the rehab for that was or like the sort of immediate post-op for that was hard. That was really, really painful. And to sort of just make things a bit more complicated, I was actually meant to be going away traveling. I think it was basically like 2 or 3 weeks after that last game of the season, which obviously I didn't do. So that got pushed back, and in the end, I went. I was in a fixed brace for 6 weeks with my legs, so literally like non-weight bearing for 6 weeks, and then I think I went traveling for 6 months, like 3 or 4 weeks after that. So I'd kind of spoken to a physio about what I kind of should and could be doing in that time, but then it was just kind of up to me. So I had no reference point over that 6 months of like, okay, am I doing this right? And in hindsight, yeah, there's definitely stuff that I could have done better. Although, given that I was traveling and didn't really have any access to any equipment, like there's only so much, but definitely could have done stuff better. And then got back to playing again after that. Um, Managed to tear my meniscus in my right knee. So at that time, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with rugby now. This is
welcome
enough.
back.
So I
Welcome
had
back.
like had like the meniscus trim there, and then I decided to play some tag rugby because I was like, oh, that's fine. Tag rugby will be fine.
No context.
And did my ACL and MCL meniscus, so that was good. Um, so yeah, basically through that whole process, there was kind of multiple things that were sort of going on, I guess. Like when I did my meniscus, I'd obviously just decided to stop playing rugby. So I kind of lost my purpose for training, and I was getting a bit bored of doing sort of your regular, like just normal resistance training for like hypertrophy, training for strength. And I wasn't able to do a lot of the stuff that I would normally have done. And that's where I sort of started playing around with calisthenics. And it was that really that kind of gave me an appreciation of just trying to make training in like as enjoyable as possible. And when you aren't able to do certain things because you've had an injury, or like even like because of time constraints or that sort of thing, like is there something else you can do? And really thinking about like how can I make training more enjoyable, how can I make training more purposeful given my current constraints? Because I think like I think that's one of the things with injuries that like I speak about quite a lot, but a lot of people don't necessarily realize is, as I alluded to earlier, it's really, really hard mentally when you're not able to do the things that you would normally do and that you love doing. Um, and then the same after I did my ACL, like it was painful to walk for like 6 months after. And obviously like through that rehab process again, like I learned a lot in terms of kind of like training itself, but also just in terms of the mental side of thinking about, okay, like what am I able to do here? Um, what is it within my control to kind of to focus on and do? And like you've spoken about with your journey, sort of just like focusing very much on what you can do and what's in your power to control is actually a lot better mentally to kind of stay positive than sort of looking at all the stuff that you can't currently do. Because when you're at that acute stage post injury, there's a lot of stuff that you can't do, and it's like obviously it's like it's fine if like to have like moments of sort of negativity, and it's like very normal to obviously like to feel negatively. But if that goes on for too long and you don't sort of focus on doing the things that you can do for yourself to make yourself feel more positive, then I think the rehab process is going to be longer. You're going to end up hating it. You're probably not going to get back to doing the stuff that you want to be doing as quickly or as well as what you would if you had like if you were trying to focus on the things that you can do at that point. And that's not to say like you don't have days where it is harder, because particularly close to like post-op, when you are in a lot of pain, it impacts your mood, it impacts your energy, it impacts everything. And there's some days you just be in like a bit of a crap mood, and you're not really sort of knowing why. And then it's like, oh yeah, it's okay, it's because this is sore. And also like when you've got an injury like that, some days are just more sore, and sometimes it is because you've done a little bit too much. But sometimes it's just like you've had a bad night's sleep, or like stress is a little bit higher, or that sort of thing. So your perception of the pain is worse, even though you've not necessarily done anything to actually cause that. And through that whole process, that's really, for me, um, cemented the philosophy of what I kind of call physical freedom, and how I kind of look at training today in terms of it's both. I see it as both the goal and the process. Like the goal is to be able to do all the stuff that I want to do for as long as possible, but it's also the process. Like sometimes that might be just like having the physical freedom to go out for a 10K run, which it like it's the process and the goal at the same time, if you know what I mean. Because
Yeah.
there's been like I've had long periods where just going out for a walk was painful, and I couldn't run around with the boys as I would like to, and like there's a lot of stuff that I wasn't able to do. So like for me, it's like now I'm like, okay, I want to do as much stuff as I possibly can to mean that I can do this stuff for as long as possible, whilst also enjoying the process and enjoying the training and enjoying being able to express that right now. And I think a lot of people kind of focus on like they talk about longevity, but there's no emphasis on actually like enjoying the training right now. And I think there's like, yeah, it's easy. Like if you're training for something athletic or like a competition or something like that right now, there's always the chance that you're going to pick up a niggle or pick up an injury. That is, in my opinion, it's part of the process. It will happen at some point. Even if you're doing absolutely everything possible to kind of mitigate that, things will happen that will, yeah, you will pick up little niggles along the way. Like that's normal. But having the mindset of being able to kind of get past that and overcome those little barriers as you go, rather than like sort of the kind of the bulletproof mindset of like I'm training to be bulletproof, and then you almost get like if something does happen and you do get a niggle, you almost feel bad that it's
Shatters
happened,
you.
sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like training absolutely should build resiliency and build your capacity to do more things, but it's along the way, like stuff will crop up that you do get little niggles. But yeah, I think like the probably the one of the biggest kind of core philosophies of how I train and how I coach is that physical freedom of like I said, being able to do as much stuff now as possible, but also be able to do that stuff for as long as possible.
Where where do you think you got that from? Because I know, this is what fascinates me. I know why I have that mindset. I've my CF, but I would love to know where you got that idea of like, I want to be able to be as active. Like, did that come from your parents? Did that come from the people you spent time around? Where do you think you got that mindset of that resiliency from? Do you know? Have you thought about it?
Um, I think I mean, I think it always starts from growing up. Like always growing up, like I'm one of four. We were always all really active. We all played sports, and it was always something that was a big source of enjoyment of like going out for a hike or going and playing in the garden and doing active things was always something that I enjoyed doing. Um, and
Gotcha.
I think then when I had those injuries, I wasn't able to do the stuff that I wanted to, and I wasn't able to do the stuff that I actively enjoyed doing. And and being in pain, just doing simple stuff. I think is from that I kind of coined that term, if you like, because I was like, I feel like my freedom from a physical perspective has been limited by this injury, and I want to open up as many doors as possible so that like this thing doesn't limit me as I go forwards.
It fascinates me hearing this type of stuff as well because it just shows you how impactful your upbringing can be on your relationship with health and fitness. Like the fact that you think back to when you were a kid and you think about all the things you enjoyed that came from being physically active. So
Yeah.
you losing that sense of that was so important to you. And it's something I talk about all the time is to people is, how impactful my dad and my mum were for me growing up and how that you can set, and this is, you're talking just to parents in general, your relationship as a parent with your health and fitness not only benefits you, but then also benefits your kids and the extension is insane. So it's cool to hear that's kind of where you came from because I don't think, we always think that we are, I think growing up, you think a lot of people have the same mindset as you. And then as you get older and older and older,
Yeah.
you're like, oh no, so many things have influenced how I feel about this and your mental resilience. That's the thing I'm hearing. Like, I feel like I had cheat codes on for my mental resilience because I didn't have an option. Whereas you had the options to quit. And just going back to that, like on the days that you really were hit harder in terms of the injuries you picked up, again, injuries physically suck. But I will stand on this hill. The mental impact that an injury can have on you is far, far greater and far longer lasting. What on those days where you did feel low, like was there someone you looked out, reached out to? Was there a source of inspiration? Like what is it that got you to keep pushing on the days that you didn't necessarily want to keep pushing?
um that's a good question. I to be honest, I think it came down to a lot of the time, just like those days that were harder, it almost made it more important to actually go and do some kind of training because I knew that it would put me in a better kind of like headspace, if you like. But it was also the thing within my control to help me move past that. Um, and that's not to say that like obviously there was certain days that yeah, you do feel like quite negative and you do feel quite crap about it. But
Hmm.
I think, yeah, that was the thing that always felt like it was in my control and the thing that always felt like it was a productive thing to do, even if I wasn't necessarily going and like when my knee was bad, going and doing anything around my knee, just going and doing something. Um, and I guess to a certain extent, it kind of made me feel a little bit more in control of where I was at, rather than just kind of like I had no
Letting
control
fate
over
take the
this
wheel.
injury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's interesting. I always like hearing like what makes people because that seems like that's something you've not even questioned. As in,
Yeah,
you kind of got on with it. But I always think it's cool to kind of to see what makes people act the way they act, because again, you're just acting it, you're just doing it, and it's cool to question that thought of. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you almost saw it as like a formula of when I'm physically active, I'm happy. I'm happy because I'm physically active. So if I'm physically active, I'm probably going to be happier. And it kind of is that like self-fulfilling
yeah,
prophecy. And I think that that sounds like that's what you kind of realize, whether you were conscious of it or not. Like when you have those bad days, you're like, well, what makes me feel good? Okay, well, not being physically free, that makes me feel bad. So, okay, there's something I can do today that's going to make me feel good. And then that's kind of
yeah.
the circle that you kind of
And
completed yourself.
I think as well, like I said, like when you for you when you stopped bodybuilding, it kind of made training feel a bit purposeless. I think
Yeah.
like just when like as and when you do have an injury, have like having some way to shift the focus so you can still do some purposeful training. So I think if it had been a case of like I I wasn't just going to train to kind of go through the motions. Um,
Yeah.
it was like there was a purpose behind it because I like I said when my knee was bad, I started doing a lot more calisthenics, and then that was the goal that made training enjoyable again.
Yeah.
I think having some purpose to it rather than it just being like a kind of checkbox activity. Um, and even then with the kind of the rehab or like the low level training coming back from an injury, it's like you obviously have in the back of your head the idea of where you were before, and that can sometimes be quite hard if you're kind of fixated on that. But if you just
Yeah.
focus on like the here and now and the session to session, you get like PBs week after week after week after week, and
Yeah.
just like
Yeah. It's great.
focusing on that and kind of like forgetting what like the historic stuff.
Yeah.
Um, again like yeah, it's frustrating that you're not able to do like the higher level stuff just yet, but if you just look at like the progression session to session, you're like, okay, cool. This is wicked. I'm on a roll here.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. Yeah, you're just right. When you do pick up those injuries, you kind of do have a bit of a short term. I mean, like you've obviously got in your head, like, oh, I used to be able to do this, but you also have the ability to go, yeah, but that was me training consistently for X amount of months without this injury. So yeah, they're getting that like PB every single session. It's a nice feeling. So you kind of
Yeah,
answered the second question I had, which was the experience that you changed how you think about training and health. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the injuries you went through and the journey that that took you through really shaped how you look at health and fitness, in the sense of you seem to be focused on finding the fun of health and fitness, and making sure that that is a priority for you, because you took so much fun and enjoyment out of just being physically active. So the next thing I
yeah,
would ask.
and
Mhm.
oh, sorry, but I was just gonna kind of
No,
add
go
to
ahead.
that. Like, I've obviously like I kind of started off the answer to that question was saying about sort of if someone's to look at me now, but I think obviously becoming a dad and the changes that made for me in terms of how I go about structuring training, but also how I think about training now. Like training is obviously still like is very important to me, but it's not as high a priority now as what it once was. And actually thinking about like yeah, I still enjoy training. If I get the chance every so often to do like an hour and a half session, for example, like I'm just going to train with a mate or something like that, then I will take that. But it's also I'm also very aware now, like if I'm spending like loads and loads of time training, is that at a detriment to the time I can spend with my
The
family and
boys.
doing
Yeah.
things with them. So it's like I've kind of had a little bit of a little bit of a kind of shift like from that perspective of like I still love it, I still want to do it, but like how can I do it in a way that kind of ticks all the boxes without it being this all consuming like thing that has to like you're kind of constantly thinking about and like constantly sort of like is constantly top of mind. And I think like that's been quite an interesting transition just in terms of like how I kind of go about managing my training and nutrition more recently with that. Because I think again, it's like if in the past you've been you used to train like 5 or 6 days a week and like all you know is a very kind of rigid structure to training and nutrition, it feels like this thing that has to be all consuming when in reality it
Yep.
doesn't. It can absolutely be something that complements all the other parts of your life and also makes them better by putting you in a better mood, giving you better energy, and also giving you sort of more like health and longevity. So I think
Enri-
that's a yeah, that's
it's
like
like,
a bit like a big transition recently.
it's the sense that it should be enriching, not dominating your lifestyle, which
Yeah.
is, sounds like that's exactly what you're looking at. So going back to kind of the start of your career, like how long have you been coaching now?
So I've been coaching since 2014, I think. So 12 years, 2013,
12 years.
2014, 12, yeah,
So,
12 or 13 years.
so let's rewind back to then. Is there anything that you believed in back then that you now would kind of scoff at, that you were?
Oh yeah, lots of things.
Give us an example. You pressured me on this one,
Yeah.
so give me an example. It sounds like you've got more in your head than I did. What'd be
Oh
one
yeah.
thing
So
you'd be
the
like, oh, if you had to post about it on social media tomorrow, if you had to post one of the things, if you could go back 12 years and you'll be like, right,
yeah.
you give him
So
your Instagram,
I've
what would you be
just
like?
like
Oh,
off the top of my head, there's like one training and one nutrition based ones that like really kind of
okay.
stick out right now. So the first one was from a training perspective, I got to the point where I was like very polarized. And like when I kind of started doing calisthenics, it's like, okay, everything has to be like body weight based. And I would like get clients to do like only like press ups to a certain point until they had kind of earned the right to be able to touch a barbell or touch a dumbbell or that sort of thing, which I like completely disagree with now. Um, just to like and I think it's one of those things like it's very like we've spoken about it before from an identity perspective. It's like you fall into this identity of a
Yep.
crossfitter or a kettlebell person or that sort of thing who only uses these tools to achieve the goal that they're trying to achieve, whereas actually like if you understand the principles of training, then you have access to all these different tools and all these different methods that you can use. And it's essentially by disregarding all of those other ones, you're going to mean that it's going to mean that you're not going to progress as quickly as what you would had you had like given yourself access to all those other things.
Mm-hmm.
And also like at that point as well, I was like dead against machines because obviously then they're not functional.
It's not
Um,
functional.
no.
What? Why would I do a
Um,
machine bench press when I could just do a push and do millions of them?
yeah, exactly.
I think that's so important. Yeah,
um,
we'll again the nutrition one as well, but I think just cutting in there quickly, like that's, if you're coaching and you're not able to look back at the things you used to think and laugh, you're probably not learning. That's the
yeah,
biggest point here, is that we are looking back at all these things we used to believe, and we now look at that and go, huh. But that's a sign of a good coach. If you're not looking back at the stuff you were like, yeah, that's, I'm putting my name to that and being like, oh, actually,
yeah,
then that's a good sign. That is a very good sign. So the nutrition one,
yeah,
what was
yeah.
the nutrition one you were cringing about?
Just on that as just on that like machine based one, there's a study that came out relatively recently, and it was like a lot of older people. I'm not sure exactly what age, but I think they were like 85, 90 years old. The only intervention that they had was doing some leg extensions, which is like for like anyone who knows kind of machines in the gym is probably the like least functional machine that you could possibly do. But the people that would like the people who were consistently doing leg extensions showed massive improvements in their walking speed and like loads of other factors from a mobility perspective of being able to get around. It's like yeah, it like you can act like it's yeah, it just it makes a lot of sense to use the tools that you have available to achieve what you want to achieve. Whereas if
Hmm.
those people had just done like functional training, they probably would like yeah, they might have got some results, but probably not wouldn't have been as good as what they would have done from just going on the leg extension for a couple of sets a
Leg
week.
extension. Yeah,
Which
yeah,
which is pretty bad.
that is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. And again, like that, just exposing yourself to that information and not having that hard head approach is so important.
Yeah.
So, was the nutrition one? I'm so curious about the nutrition one. What was your?
So the nutrition one was very much based around sort of carbs being bad and causing like fat gain and the like insulin varies and all the rest of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I went through a phase of sort of doing like carb backloading, which for anyone who hasn't heard of that, which it sounds like a bit of a throwback. I've not
Forgot
heard
about that.
anyone talk
I
about that
forgot about
now.
that. Yeah. Oh my
Um,
word.
Basically like not having any carbs until like late in the evening and then smashing like all of your carbs at that point. So you basically like rely on proteins and fats earlier on in the day, because of some kind of like hormonal optimization, which doesn't really like make any difference at all.
No,
And actually,
no.
like I probably got worse results from doing that because it was while I was still playing rugby, so I probably actually wasn't fueling myself
Oh,
as well as I could have done whilst I was trying to play. So yeah, um,
no.
basically
Hindsight.
eat your carbs.
Yes. Hindsight's 2020 though, right? So,
Yeah.
coaching for 12 years. And obviously, if you've been coaching for 12 years, well, the average coach lasts 2 years in the industry. That's what I was told whenever I started back in, I don't know how many years it's been from now, but I'm sure you probably heard that stat as well. So if you've been coaching for as long as you've been coaching, that means that you are doing something you enjoy. Now, aside from the sets and reps, if someone's been working with you for a long time, what is more important to you than the sets and reps? Like what's the in between there for you as a coach? What's most important for you when it comes to that?
Um, I think I think probably that like the biggest thing is realizing your potential without this like process kind of dominating your life, and just that like realizing that you're probably capable of doing a lot more than what you think you are, and probably a lot more broadly than what you think you are as well. Like, I think a lot of people put themselves in a box when it comes to training of like I just do like powerlifting, or I just do bodybuilding, or I just do this. Like actually, being able to explore multiple options of training and multiple modalities, enjoying your training because you're able to cycle through that with a little bit more kind of variation, um, and also doing that in a way where it's like it's not taking over your life. It's like I said earlier, it's adding to everything. It's adding to everything else that you do. It's meaning that you're kind of showing up with more energy and more confidence at work. It's meaning that you're more present and more like able to play with like your family. It's kind of, yeah, the like having those positive things kind of carry over through everything else, but without it being something that kind of takes over your life. It's just something you do. And it's not like I think a lot of people, particularly people who have had like a big goal of like, I don't know, running a marathon, or like doing like a big kind of athletic like an athletic accomplishment like that.
Mhm.
It like training becomes all consuming, and then you hate it off the back of it. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's always going to be sort of like, you're always going to have a little bit of a pivot point after like you've potentially done a competition or something along those lines. But um like it never being sort of like, okay, I'm doing this and then like it's gone. It's always there in the background in some form or another. And just like, if you can find the fun in it and find the enjoyment in it, then that will likely always be the case.
I was going to say, it sounds like the enjoyment of it is the most important thing for you. Like you're just right, like sets and reps and all that stuff. That's cool. But I think, again, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you take the most enjoyment out of the fact that your clients are enjoying the process. It's the process
Yeah.
that is the most rewarding thing. I'm the same. Like cool sets and reps, great. But are you actually enjoying this? Is this something you can foresee yourself doing 10 years, 20 years, 30 years time? I think
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
part I enjoy as well. So
Yeah.
what would you want people to believe about training after working with you for a long period of time? What would be like the thing that you would be like, yeah, that if a client came to you after a year of working to you and said this sentence, like after working with Tom for a year, I feel this or I believe in this, like what would you be like? Sweet. That's like all. That's the best thing I could hear. I'm sure you've heard it many, many times before in different variations of it. But like, what would be the thing that just lights you up and has made your day?
Um, I don't know. I'm struggling to kind of like think of something that's like differentiated from the previous answer because it probably would be it probably would be that
Hmm.
that like that it's enjoyable. It's like yeah, it's not going to be easy all the time, but it's like maintaining a certain level is easy. And like kind of having that dimmer switch approach of like knowing that some points you will be like turning things down and just maintaining at that slightly lower level, but like you are maintaining, you're not slipping backwards. And then at points when think like you do have a bit more time or you can make it a little bit more of a priority, like you're dialing things up and you're doing more and kind of pushing on and progressing and just having that mentality of like, it's not an on or off.
Yeah.
It's just something you go and do on it like on a weekly basis that adds to everything else in your life.
Has there been anything recently that a client has said to you that you are like, you've gotten that sense of pride, like, oh my word, that's exactly what I would hoped you would get from this situation?
uh
It's a hard question to ask because I know it's on the spot, but like,
yeah.
there's just certain
I'm
things that
just
clients say that you're like, yes, yes, you get it. Like, is there
yeah.
anything that you're like, if there's one thing you could have learned, that I'm glad that would be it? Is it that sense of enjoyment? Is it that sense of problem solving? The sense of balance? I always find it rewarding when a client shows signs of like of that, not the all or nothing. They've gotten rid of that all or nothing mentality, which I think we do get when we work with people. A lot of people come into the coaching process and have that badge of honor of like, I'm a perfectionist, I'm this all or nothing person. And
Yeah.
I personally find it amazing when they start showing signs that that's no longer them, and they're more engaged in the process. Is that, would you be in
Yeah.
agreement with that?
Yeah, no,
Like,
absolutely. I can't think of anything specific, but like I think to paraphrase, there's definitely that element of enjoyment and
mhm,
enjoying the process. For people who have had sort of recurrent niggles or like have had injuries in the past, it's like that mentality of like it not being the end of the world when something does
yeah,
creep in, which like I said, it's like you can do everything in your power to make sure that doesn't happen, but invariably at some point, like yeah, something might flare up or like you might pick up a new niggle or whatever, and like actually in that moment, it not being in the end of the, like it not being the end of the world, and knowing that like just with the right inputs, you'll get back to doing all the stuff that you love to do, and actually like the stronger you are going into that, the like yeah your relative strength compared to like your top end strength is going to be lower, but actually like to like you're going to be in a much better position and you're going to recover faster because of that.
so
um
basically taking what your mindset was whenever you were injured, like that you'd be proud of if a client came to you and they showed the same signs that you had when you were going through that stuff of like, look, I may not be up here, but I'm here and I'm able to do this thing and I can do this and I can do this. It
yeah
sounds like
I
that's
don't
kind of the thing that you take the most
yeah
enjoyment
I
out of
think it's
seeing.
like overcoming that limiting belief of like okay I can't do this stuff or I can't do this stuff anymore.
Yep.
um and actually yeah actually kind of moving past that. But yeah it's like there's that sort of things, but also just like doing things that they didn't think were possible, whether that's learning a new calisthenic skill or coming from a powerlifting or bodybuilding background and being able to run like a quick 10K or like something like that. Just like yeah, I guess it's like it's overcoming sort of limited beliefs that you
Self-limiting.
might have
Yeah.
had coming into the process.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Is there anything else you think you would want to add? Is there anything that, you know, I think, okay, this is a good question for you. This is a bit of an ad hoc one, but what makes you different to other coaches?
Ooh.
Why
Um,
should someone work with you, Tom?
I've got a
I know
really
why.
nice shaped head.
I mean, you do. It's very aesthetically pleasing. I have to admit, I'm hiding mine under this cap.
um, Oh, you're really trying to get me to sell myself here, and I'm really not very good
I
at
am.
doing this.
I want to hear it because look, to me, like you clearly have a self belief in yourself, and I want other people to see it. Like I met you through D&D, and I immediately saw you someone who is just a very positive person. So you know what, I'm going to do it for you if you don't mind. I think you're one of the most
Go on then.
positive, generally speaking, upbeat people I've ever met. Sorry, um, that it's infectious. I think your positivity and your mindset is an infectious one to be around. You're very inspiring, you're very encouraging, but it's not a fake sense of positivity. It's like a real genuine sense of just happiness, and you want to see other people as happy as they can possibly be. If I'm wrong on that,
Yeah,
please correct me, but I don't think I am. Like even
yeah.
just talking to you
No,
about my book, you're and we barely knew each other at that point, and you were so engaging, and you were so, you're asking questions about it, and I could just tell that you just want to see the people that you're working with and the people you care about be and feel the best they possibly can. And I think that's
yeah,
why you've been a coach for as long as you've been, because I truly do not think that you can do what we do if you're not passionate and it's not in you. And I think it's very obvious this is something that you were clearly meant to do. And it's cool to see. So am I wrong?
thank you very much, mate. I no, I would agree with that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I do, yeah, I don't know many people that like smile as much as I smile, probably. So
No, no, yeah, in D&D, like it's like the Cheshire Cat, but it's not creepy. It's the nicest.
yeah,
Like every time you look over at you, I also have the assumption that you can just do whatever you like. This is one of the questions I asked my clients years and years ago, and I think this applies to you. That if I genuinely believe if there's a task that need to be done, I would trust you with that task to get it done. And like there's just those people you have extreme confidence in. In fact, I'll give you okay, this is one I've told. I don't know if I've told you this, but I think the greatest compliment that I could give someone is if there was a zombie apocalypse and I died, okay, and you came and I was like, let's say, okay, this paint the picture, zombie apocalypse come, I've been bitten, and Janice and Ollie are in the house, and you for some reason are floating around the neighborhood, and you started coming towards my house, I'd be like, Janice and Ollie will be okay because Tom's here. Greatest compliment I could give someone. And I've said that before. I'd be like, you know what? I think you'd be okay if Tom was there to look after you. And I mean that. I genuinely mean that. So
oh, high
just
praise,
to
mate.
finish this up, mate, it's honestly the best I could give. And I genuinely mean that. So to finish this off, would you rather have the power of telekinesis, so being able to move things with your mind, or telepathy, to be able to read people's minds?
Ooh,
Basically be a Jedi, essentially.
yeah. Presumably you can turn it on and off, and it's not just like you're like, say you're out in a public space and you're just like bombarded with like all of these
Not
thoughts.
what women want. Mel Gibson film, yeah,
Yeah.
where they could just yeah. I think it's something like it's like reading a book. Like a book just doesn't start yelling at you. I assume let's put that in the parameters. Like yeah, telekinesis, you focus on it, you move it, but yeah, reading people's thoughts, you be in the conversation, and then you could just like push past and be able to hear their
Yeah,
thoughts. What do
yeah.
you think?
I mean, telepathy would probably be more useful, but I'm gonna go with telekinesis because it's just cooler.
Same, isn't it? Isn't it? 100%. Like reading people's minds. I genuinely think what is it? 90% of communication is nonverbal anyway. So I don't think you need to
Yeah,
know what people are thinking. If you're a somewhat normal person, you can kind of tell what people are thinking anyway without having to read their mind. Telekinesis
yeah,
though, like imagine just being like, imagine I could just do this and this thing would land in my hands. You'd be like, oh my
yeah,
god,
yeah.
100%.
That would be
Would
very
you would
cool.
you use it to lift? Would you use it to lift more weights though? Imagine you
uh,
could strengthen it. Imagine you could also lift at the same time. I'd 100% do that. I'd be breaking world
oh,
records. I'd be,
you definitely would do like some showing off, wouldn't you?
wouldn't you? 100%. There's no way you could. There's no way if you could move things with your mind, you wouldn't be like, "Hey, check this out."
Yeah.
But yeah, I think telekinesis would be, yeah, I think it's the less creepy one as well. I think it's the good option.
Yeah, I think yeah, it would be a little bit creepy and probably like would make you feel a bit awkward at points as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, imagine me sitting in D&D and I'd be like, yeah, I think Janice and Ollie'd be safe with Tom. You'd be like, what? And I'd be like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
What? Did I say that out loud? Yeah, let's go with the telekinesis. Let's go with the
Yeah.
force. Let's go with force.
Yeah, no,
So hopefully you've,
that would definitely be the answer.
I mean, look, Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure to hear your view and how your life and how health and fitness has kind of structured and shaped you to who you are. I mean, I think it's always fascinating to hear people's upbringing and the impacts that their life experiences have had. The one thing I'm taking from this is that you're a very mentally resilient person. And whether you're aware of it or not, like the things that people go through shape them to who they are today. And I think who you are today is a fucking awesome person. So I appreciate it.
Thank you,
I
mate.
appreciate your time as well. So
Oh, thanks,
if
mate. I
someone's wanting to
appreciate
coach
you.
with you, oh, thank you very much. If someone's wanting to coach with you, where's the best place they can get you?
Either on Instagram at Tom Project Performance, or on my website, which is projectperformance.online. You'll find everything you need to there, probably.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for having us in your ears or in your eyeballs today. Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you even more than I did already. I knew of all these injuries, but like, but me, whenever you lift them, I'm like, oh my word, there's been quite a
Yeah.
few. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, please remember to give it a like, subscribe wherever you can, and share with a friend. And if you find this episode helpful, insightful, please let us know. And we will see you in the next one. Have a good day.
See you next time. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.